What is this? Where is everything I heard about? All your years abroad. I lost my job. Things went bad. I had to come home. You must be joking. You want to disgrace me in this village?
Hey there, pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Welcome to Tales Vibe, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from. David Brown returned to his village in Nigeria after many years away. Word had gone ahead of him. People said he was rich. People said he had made it. That was what his father, Chief Brown, had told everyone. Chief Brown had spoken of his son at every gathering. He said David was successful abroad. He said his son would change their family name. He said David would help the village. Because of those words, people respected him. They listened when he spoke. So when the day came for David to return, many people gathered. They expected a strong man, a rich man, a man who looked like success. But David did not come like that. He arrived quietly, wearing worn clothes and simple shoes. He carried only a small bag. His face looked tired. He did not smile much. When people saw him, the noise stopped. Chief Brown stepped forward, ready to receive praise. Then he saw his son clearly. His face changed. He looked confused, then angry, then ashamed. David walked closer and bowed slightly. "Papa, I'm back," he said. Chief Brown did not answer at once. He looked around and saw people watching. He saw their eyes. He felt their thoughts. "What is this?" he asked. His voice was sharp. "Where is everything I heard about?" David kept his head low. "I lost my job," he said. "Things went bad. I had to come home." A few people whispered. Someone laughed quietly. Chief Brown felt heat rise in his chest. This was not what he promised them. This was not the son he described. David tried to move closer, but his father stepped back. "You came like this?" Chief Brown said. "After all I said about you?" David said nothing. His mother stood behind his father. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not move. His sisters looked away. They felt embarrassed. The elders nearby watched closely. They had respected Chief Brown because of David. Now they exchanged looks. Chief Brown cleared his throat. "Go inside," he said coldly. "We will talk later." The joy that was meant to welcome David disappeared. People began to leave. Some shook their heads. Some smiled. David stood there for a moment. He felt every look on his body. He knew the test had begun. He picked up his bag and walked into the house alone. Chief Brown stayed outside. His heart was heavy. His pride was shaking. The son he built his image on had returned as nothing. That night, the house was quiet. No food was shared. No celebration happened. Father and son stayed in separate rooms. David lay down on a thin mattress. He stared at the ceiling. He knew the pain was real. But he also knew why he came. He did not come to show money. He came to see love. If this story is speaking to your heart, take a moment to subscribe to Tales Vibe. Here, we share stories about truth, pride, and the lessons hidden in everyday life. By morning, the news had already spread. David Brown did not return rich. He returned empty. People talked as they walked past Chief Brown's house. Some spoke in low voices. Others did not bother to hide it. The story grew with every retelling. Chief Brown did not leave his room early that day. When he finally stepped outside, neighbors greeted him with strange smiles. The respect in their voices was missing. Later that afternoon, the elders called for a meeting. Chief Brown knew what it was about. He dressed carefully and went, hoping to explain himself before things went too far. David remained at home. No one told him to follow. No one asked how he felt. At the meeting, the elders did not waste time. "You told us your son was rich," one of them said. "You said he would help us." Another added, "You said he would lift this village." Chief Brown tried to speak. "He was doing well before," he said. Things changed. Laughter broke out. "So this is the man we waited for," someone said. "A man who came back with nothing?" Chief Brown felt his chest tighten. Every word felt like a slap. "You used your son's name to gain respect," another elder said. "Now we look foolish." When the meeting ended, Chief Brown walked out with his head down. People watched him go. Some shook their heads. Some laughed openly. By evening, the shame followed him home. A group of men stood near the gate when David stepped outside. They looked at him without greeting. "So you are the rich man," one said. Another added, "Is this how success looks now?" David felt his throat tighten, but he did not answer. Chief Brown came out and saw the scene. His anger exploded. "Enough!" he shouted, pointing at David. "Get inside." The men laughed and walked away. Chief Brown turned to his son. "Do you know what you have done?" he said. "They mocked me today. They called me a liar." David tried to explain. "I didn't plan for." "Stop," Chief Brown cut in. "You have already said enough." That night, neighbors passed the house slowly, hoping to hear raised voices. Some did. Chief Brown shouted. David stayed silent. Inside, Chief Brown paced the room. "I built my name with your success," he said. "Now they spit on it." David looked at his father and felt the weight of it. This was more than anger. It was wounded pride. By the time night came, the village had chosen its story. Chief Brown was no longer the proud father of a successful son. David was no longer the symbol of hope. They had both become a joke. And the distance between father and son grew wider, without either of them saying it out loud. That night did not end with sleep. Chief Brown sat in the living room long after everyone else had gone quiet. The words from the elders replayed in his head. Every laugh felt fresh. Every look of pity burned. David stayed in the small room at the back of the house. He could hear his father walking up and down. He knew the silence would not last. When Chief Brown finally called his name, his voice was hard. David stepped into the room and stood where his father could see him clearly. Chief Brown did not ask him to sit. "You destroyed me today," he said. "Do you understand that?" David swallowed. "I didn't mean to shame you," he said. "Things just went wrong." Chief Brown laughed bitterly. "Things went wrong. You stood there like a beggar while people mocked me." He moved closer. "I told them you were successful. I told them you would bring change. That is why they listened to me." David lowered his head. "I was doing well before. I sent money. I helped. And now?" Chief Brown snapped. "What are you now?" David did not answer. Chief Brown's voice rose. "You should have stayed away. You should not have returned like this." Those words landed heavily. "I came home because this is my family," David said quietly. Chief Brown shook his head. "You came home to ruin everything I built." He began listing names. Elders. Neighbors. Men who once greeted him with respect. "They laughed at me today," he said. "Do you know what that feels like?" David tried again. "I can start over. I just need time." "Time!" Chief Brown shouted. "With what money?" He pointed toward the door. "You think I raised you to come back empty and disgrace me?" David felt his chest tighten. "I am still your son." Chief Brown turned away. "A son who brings shame is no son of mine." The room went silent. David felt the words settle deep inside him. This was worse than rejection. This was denial. His mother stood at the doorway, her hands shaking. She wanted to speak, but fear held her back. His sisters watched from a distance, their faces full of confusion and hurt. Chief Brown spoke again, calmer but colder. "You will stay out of my sight. Do not speak about your problems to anyone. Do not embarrass me again." David nodded slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. Chief Brown waved him away. David turned and walked back to his room. He closed the door softly behind him. Inside, he sat down and breathed deeply. The pain was sharp, but it confirmed what he needed to know. The anger was not about love. It was about pride. And the test was far from over. After that night, the house changed. David kept to himself. He woke early and slept late, avoiding his father as much as possible. When they crossed paths, Chief Brown looked through him like he was not there. Food was placed on the table, but no one called David to eat. Sometimes his mother waited until his father finished before quietly pushing a plate toward him. Sometimes she did nothing at all. By the third day, David knew he could not stay idle. He needed to do something. He needed to start again. That evening, he gathered courage and approached his father. "Papa," he said carefully, "I want to find my way back. I just need small help to begin." Chief Brown looked at him with disbelief. "Help," he repeated. "After what you did?" "I'm not asking for much," David said. "I can repay it." Chief Brown laughed without humor. "You want me to waste money on a man who has already ruined my name?" David stood still. "You are bad luck," Chief Brown continued. "Everything you touch brings shame. I don't have anything for you." He turned to David's mother. "Do not give him food again," he said. "Let him feel what failure tastes like." She froze. Her eyes met David's briefly, full of tears, then dropped. David said nothing. He walked away. The next day, he went to his uncle's house. This was a man whose children he had once helped through school. When David reached the gate, his uncle's wife stepped out. "What do you want?" she asked sharply. "I just came to greet," David said. She laughed. "We don't have anything for you here." The gate closed. He tried another relative. The door was not even opened. David walked through the village slowly. People watched him. Some whispered. Some pointed. Children followed him, singing songs about a poor man's son. He went to a friend he once supported in business. The man pretended not to see him and walked away. By evening, David felt tired and empty. Not just in his body, but inside. He returned home quietly and sat in his small room. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. For the first time, doubt entered his heart. He asked himself if the test was worth this pain. Then he remembered the smiles people used to wear around him. The praise. The fake respect. If he had returned rich, none of this would have happened. Everyone would have welcomed him. But now, with nothing to offer, he was invisible. David lay down and stared into the dark. There was no help anywhere. And the truth was becoming clearer by the day. By the next morning, hunger followed David everywhere. He walked through the village slowly, unsure of where to go. He had no money and no strength to ask again. Each step reminded him that he was truly alone. Near the edge of the village, he stopped at a small shop. He stood there for a while, hoping the owner would notice him without him speaking. When she finally did, her face tightened. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to buy food," David said softly. "I'll pay later." The woman laughed. "Pay later with what?" "Your stories." People nearby turned to watch. Someone mocked him. Another laughed loudly. David felt heat rise to his face. He nodded slowly and stepped back. "I'll pay," a voice said. Everyone turned. A young woman stood there, holding a small purse. She looked at David, then at the shop owner. "I said I'll pay," she repeated. The woman shrugged and collected the money. David stood frozen. "You didn't have to," he said quietly. The young woman smiled. "I know," she said. They walked away together. David held the food like it was something fragile. "My name is Sarah," she said. "You may not remember me." David shook his head. "My brother is James," she continued. "You paid his school fees years ago. He's teaching now." David felt something shift inside him. "I wanted to thank you," Sarah said. "But I didn't get the chance before you left." They sat nearby and talked. Not about money. Not about shame. Just about life. Sarah did not ask him why he was poor. She did not look at his clothes. She listened. That alone felt like relief. Over the next few days, Sarah kept finding him. Sometimes she brought food. Sometimes she just sat with him. People noticed. "She's foolish," some said. "Why is she helping him?" Her friends warned her. "That man has nothing." Sarah ignored them. David tried to stop her once. "You shouldn't be seen with me," he said. "People will talk." She smiled gently. "They already do," she said. "It doesn't change who you are." For the first time since returning, David felt human again. He still slept in the small room. His father still ignored him. The village still mocked him. But now, there was one person who looked at him without judgment. One person who remembered who he was before the fall. As David walked back home that evening, he understood something clearly. The test was working. When money disappeared, so did many faces. But one kind heart remained. And that heart would change everything. Sarah's presence did not go unnoticed. People began to talk openly. They asked questions. They laughed when they saw her walking beside David. Some shook their heads like she had made a mistake. David felt the weight of it. "You don't have to keep coming," he told her one afternoon. "They are turning you into a joke too." Sarah stopped walking and looked at him. "If standing with you makes me foolish," she said, "then I'll be foolish." Her words stayed with him. As the days passed, their bond grew stronger. They spoke often, sometimes for hours. David shared parts of his life, but he avoided the truth. Sarah noticed, but she did not push. The village did push. One evening, Sarah's parents called her aside. "You are ruining your name," her father said. "That man has no future." "He's a failure," her mother added. "People say he's cursed." Sarah listened quietly. "He helped our family," Sarah said. "He is kind." "That doesn't feed a home," her father replied. "Stay away from him." Sarah nodded but did not change. Her friends also warned her. "You can do better," they said. "Why tie yourself to shame?" She stopped explaining. David began to feel guilt. He had planned to test love, not destroy someone else's peace. One evening, he tried again. "Sarah, I don't want you to suffer because of me." She smiled sadly. I choose this, she said. No one forced me. From that day, they moved carefully. They met quietly. They spoke honestly. David took up work where he could. Carrying loads. Cleaning. Doing anything to survive. The village laughed harder. Sarah still came. She brought water when he worked. She shared meals when she could. She sat with him when words failed. People insulted her openly now. Poor man's wife, they called her. She heard it all. One afternoon, David watched as someone mocked her to her face. He felt anger rise, but Sarah simply turned and walked away. Later, she said, "They don't know you like I do." That night, David could not sleep. He realized something important. Sarah was not standing with the man he appeared to be. She was standing with the man she believed him to be. And belief like that was rare. By choosing him, she had chosen loneliness. She had chosen judgment. She had chosen struggle. She was standing alone with him against the village. And for the first time since his return, David felt something close to hope. The test was no longer just about truth. It was about responsibility. And soon, he would have to decide how long the silence could last. David knew he could not keep living on kindness alone. The next morning, he left the house early and did not return until late. He had found work at a construction site outside the village. It was hard work, carrying blocks, mixing cement, taking orders from men younger than him. By the second day, people noticed. "That is Chief Brown's son," someone said. "See how far he has fallen." The laughter returned, louder than before. David kept working. He did not complain. He needed the work, but he also needed the silence it gave him. While his hands were busy, his mind stayed calm. Sarah came to see him that evening. She stood at a distance and watched him work. Her face showed pain. "You shouldn't be doing this," she said. "I should," David replied. "I need to stand on my own, at least for now." She nodded, though it hurt her. The news reached Chief Brown quickly. "Have you seen him?" people asked. "Your son is working like a laborer." Chief Brown felt the last of his pride crack. He refused to speak about it. At home, he acted as if David no longer existed. The village enjoyed the story. What they did not know was the truth. The building David worked on belonged to him. It was almost finished. He slept in one of the empty rooms at night. He ate quietly. He waited. Only Sarah visited him there. One evening, she stood inside the building and looked around. Her eyes widened. "This place is too big," she said. "Who owns it?" David took a deep breath. He knew the moment had come. "Sarah," he said, "I need to tell you something." He pulled out his phone and opened his bank app. He handed it to her. She looked at the screen and froze. "What is this?" she asked. "I'm not poor," David said calmly. "I never was." She stared at him, confused. "Then why?" "I needed to know who loved me without money," he said. "I needed the truth." Sarah sat down slowly. She felt shocked, then quiet. "So all this pain," she said. "Yes," David replied. "It was real. But it showed me everything." She looked at him for a long time. "You could have stopped earlier," she said. "I know," he answered. "But I needed to see it through." Sarah stood up and faced him. "You hurt yourself," she said. "But you didn't lie to me." David nodded. "You stayed when you thought I had nothing." Sarah exhaled slowly. "I won't tell anyone," she said. "Your secret is safe." Relief washed over David. That night, they sat quietly in the building. No village noise. No laughter. Just truth between them. The test had reached its deepest point. And now, the time to reveal it was drawing close. After that night, everything moved quickly. David stopped explaining himself. He focused on planning. Quietly. Carefully. Only Sarah knew the full truth. Everyone else still believed the same story. When David told Sarah he wanted to marry her, she did not hesitate. "Yes," she said. But when the news reached the village, laughter followed. "Marriage," people said. "With what money?" Sarah's parents were furious. "You want to marry a man who cannot feed himself?" her father asked. Her friends shook their heads. "This will end badly." David told his parents too. Chief Brown laughed bitterly. "Marriage is for men, not for failures." David said nothing. He simply handed them wedding clothes. Chief Brown threw them aside. "We will not attend another disgrace." David nodded and left. The wedding day arrived without warning. People heard engines before they saw anything. One by one, expensive cars drove into the village. Men in fine clothes stepped out. Women followed, dressed neatly and confidently. The village stopped. The cars did not stop at the square. They moved straight toward the large building at the edge of the village. Music played. Chairs were arranged. Food arrived in large quantities. Then David stepped out of one of the cars. He looked different. Clean. Confident. Calm. People stared. Whispers turned into silence. Sarah arrived soon after, dressed simply but beautifully. When she stood beside David, the truth began to sink in. News spread fast. David is rich. Very rich. Elders rushed to the venue. Chief Brown ran behind them. At the gate, security stopped them. Only invited guests, they said. Chief Brown pushed forward. That is my son. David had given clear instructions. Only those who showed kindness would enter. Inside, the wedding began. David paid the bride price fully. He gave gifts freely. He smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. Sarah looked at him and understood. This was not just a celebration. It was a moment of reckoning. Outside the gate, people watched in disbelief. Some cried. Some begged. Chief Brown called David's name again and again. David did not respond. The wedding continued peacefully. And for the first time, the village understood that they had judged too early. But the deepest truth was still coming. After the wedding, David did not leave immediately. Instead, he sent word that the elders and his father should come inside. Security opened the gate. They entered slowly, their faces heavy with shame. The laughter from earlier days was gone. No one spoke. Chief Brown stood at the back, afraid to look up. David stood before them calmly. I returned home with plans, he began. I wanted to help this village. I wanted to build schools, improve roads, and support families. The elders listened in silence. But I needed to know something first, David continued. I needed to know if I was valued as a person or as a wallet. No one interrupted him. When I came back with nothing, you mocked me. You rejected me. You laughed. Some elders looked down. David turned to his father. Papa, he said, you pushed me away in front of everyone. Not because I was a bad son, but because I hurt your pride. Chief Brown's hands shook. You cared more about what people said than about me. Chief Brown fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he cried. I was blind. David looked at him, but his face did not soften. I lost respect for this village, David said. Not because of poverty, but because of how you treat people when they fall. He paused. I will not invest here anymore. A murmur passed through the elders. This place will remain the same, David said. That is not punishment. That is consequence. He turned to his mother and sisters. Mama, he said gently, the house I built is yours. You can live there or move to the city. She broke down in tears. My sisters, he added, you are going abroad. Everything I promised will happen. They cried and held him. Chief Brown looked up in desperation. Please, he said, let me come with you. David shook his head. You are still my father, he said, but I cannot walk with you anymore. The words cut deeply. David looked back at the elders. This meeting is over. They left quietly, carrying their shame. Chief Brown remained on the floor long after they were gone. The damage was done. The judgment had been spoken. And there was no appeal. David left the village quietly a few days after the judgment. There was no announcement. No warning. He simply packed what little he carried, took his mother and sisters, and left with Sarah. The village only realized he was gone when the house stayed closed and the compound remained silent. Chief Brown stayed indoors. At first, people avoided him out of fear. Later, they avoided him out of pity. The elders no longer sent for him. Meetings went on without his voice. The position he once hoped for was given to another man, quietly, without explanation. Chief Brown noticed the change immediately. When he walked past people, greetings became short. Some people did not greet him at all. The men who once sat with him now gathered elsewhere. His name no longer carried weight. The house felt large and empty. David's mother moved fully into the house David gave her. She invited her daughters to stay, and they did. They spoke of school abroad, of plans, of new beginnings. They did not speak of their father much. Chief Brown heard about everything from others. He heard that his daughters had traveled. He heard that David had settled in the city with his wife. He heard that David was doing well. He tried to call his son. The first call rang. No answer. The second went straight to voicemail. After that, the calls stopped going through. At night, Chief Brown sat alone and remembered. He remembered how David stood quietly while he shouted. He remembered the words he could never take back. He remembered choosing pride when love was enough. The pain did not come all at once. It came slowly, daily. Children passed his house singing a new song. It spoke of pride and loss. They did not know he was listening. But he was, and each word cut deep. Far away, David began again. There were no tests in his new life. No pretending. He worked, planned, and built honestly. Sarah stood beside him, not because of money, but because she believed in him before the truth came out. One evening, they sat together in silence. "Do you ever think about him?" Sarah asked gently. David nodded. "He is my father," he said. "That will never change." "Do you regret the test?" she asked. David thought carefully. "It broke things," he said. "But it showed me what was real." He held her hand. "I lost pride," he continued. "But I gained peace." Back in the village, Chief Brown sat in the same house he once felt proud of. Now it felt like a reminder of everything he lost. The test was over. The truth had spoken. And everyone was left to live with it. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.